kids which are passing out, a lot of them are women. And our pipeline is high women. Our hires are high women, but something is happening after that. And that is what we are trying to address right now. Because we don't have a problem with hiring at the lower
entry level.
So at the junior levels, we don't at all. In fact, I was in a CA campus hiring just 2 days back. I was there in day one. I hired 13 and 8 of them were women. So I have never felt the problem of hiring women at those levels. It's always been about growing them. And yes, there will be those realities that they will face as they get married, etc., etc. But that is a time when the real hand-holding is required, and that's where all the policies and all the efforts that the companies are doing. But again, if we look at the economic side of it, we have realized that even if we do that hand-holding and that extra maternity leave, that extra, even then we found it was beneficial for us, because instead of losing those women, hiring another person and then training the person, this was a better option, because by a lot of virtues that a woman was bringing to the workplace, we thought that economically, when we lay it out, it made good benefit. So to your question, a lot is being done. We really have to make sure that we lead them ahead beyond just. In Dell, what we've seen is, one, we have understood the business case, and it's very clear. We work very closely with an organization called Catalyst. It is a non-profit organization, does a lot of research and advisory in this area. And very clearly in a recent report, it came out that organizations which had higher level of women leadership had 35% higher return on equity and 34% higher total return to shareholders. So clearly the business case was not something that we are still dwelling with, but also the fact that across the consumer industry, 70 to 80% of the buying decisions are being either made or influenced by women. So the clear business case then was that, can we ignore such an influencing and a veto power? So they said that women, even if they were not buying it with their own money, they were influencing a lot of the spend just by the virtue of being in any economy, the caretaker, and buying for themselves and their extended family and all of that, right? So, and then they also said that if women were the consumers, who would understand the consumers better than women? So all of this led to the fact that we said, clearly this is a talent pool that we cannot ignore. Statistics proved that it was important. So what we started doing is, we started a program called Men Advocating Real Change. We call it MARC. And we actually started getting men into a room and talking about it. And really we said that, when can we be successful? It was when we did not just talk about diversity, but we talked about diversity and inclusion. So inclusion is really important. And if we have to do diversity and inclusion, it meant that we needed to understand each other's realities. And what was the reality, especially in our economy, was that there is an unconscious bias. When we got men into a room and we started talking about this so-called unconscious bias, just by way of workshops and interactions, the best part was that men were really surprised that the unconscious bias really existed. And when they started recognizing the unconscious bias, they not only realized it was sometimes at the workplace, sometimes it was even at home. So when we got them back after those sessions, many of them were heard saying that, oh, I really need to go and correct this at home. So it was a lot of these sessions, and now, in fact, I am the exec sponsor for diversity for India Finance. We have around 900 people. But I'm also the exec sponsor for APJ region. But 2 of my co-exec sponsors are men. So I would rather prefer them to talk about it, because the reality is that more senior people are men in the corporate leadership teams. And if they don't want it, or if they don't drive it, this change will never happen. If you have to ask me what is one of the best things that we think we are now doing, is men recognizing this and driving this change.